I'm going to show you how to take your new Chargriller flat iron premium from this to this. Nice and seasoned and ready to cook on. Today on Outdoors with Geoff. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Outdoors with Geoff. Before we light the coals for today's cook, take a minute and hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you can be notified of any new content that comes to the channel. What's up barbecue crew? Welcome back to Outdoors with Geoff. Today we're not going to necessarily be outdoors with Geoff. I guess you could say we're indoors today. I want to give a special thanks to the folks at Chargriller that sent this out to the channel so that we could get some new and exciting griddle cooks for you guys. We're going to get a nice seasoning on there with several coats of oil, and we're going to cover that process, which is very important when you're getting your griddle set up for the first time. Enough talking, let's get to the setup. For this seasoning, we're going to do a couple different things. First, we're going to wash the griddle surface with a rag and some warm soap and water. And this is going to be the only time that you're going to use soap and water on here. If you do, you're going to have to re-season your whole griddle. I'm going to be using grapeseed oil for my seasoning. There are a lot of different oils you can use. It's really up to you as far as what your personal preference is. But I'm going to wash this down, give this a good cleaning, and then going to dry it. And then we're going to cut the burners on medium high. And then we're going to start to let that run until we see a little bit of color, where we're starting to see some brown and black. And then we're going to go ahead and start putting down our oil. So let's get to going. This is going to be a detailed video showing you how to season your griddle. And I will have some areas where I will time lapse and shorten a couple of things. But for the most part, we're going to show you step by step on what you need to do. First here, I'm going to wash the griddle top, and I'm using warm soap and water. I'm actually using Dawn dish detergent, and you want to make sure you get all areas and corners, the sides, the back, everywhere on the griddle. Next, you're going to wipe that with a rag afterward to get that soap off of there, and make sure you get up in the corners as well. And next you're going to come back and add some water to get a final rinse, and then dry completely with another dry rag. Next we're going to turn on the griddle to low, and then we're going to eventually turn it up to medium high so that we don't warp the griddle top. And we let that burn for about 10 minutes, and you're going to start to see where we're getting some browning right there in certain spots where the burners are, and that's normal. That's what you want to see. And at this point, about 15 minutes have elapsed, and you start to see we've got some really good color on here, and we burnt off the little bit of smoke that was there. And now it's time to begin our seasoning process. I'm choosing to season this griddle with grapeseed oil, and you want to get a light layer down. You don't want to go heavy with this at all during this process. But get a light layer of oil down, and then you want to take it, you want to spread it out. And I'm using tongs and a paper towel here because the griddle is hot. And you just want to spread that evenly around, and make sure you get in the corners and the sides as well. You also want to step back and take a look at the griddle and make sure you don't have any spots of oil that are heavy. Just make sure everything is nice and even. And now we're going to start the burn off process for the first seasoning. You don't do anything but just let the oil burn, and when you start seeing that smoke, just let it go until it continues, and then you don't have any smoke left. This usually takes about maybe 15 minutes or so. And here I'm starting the second seasoning. And again, I'm coming back with a good light layer of oil. And I'm going to take a paper towel and again go back around and make sure to hit the sides and in the corners and the outsides and the back as well. You want to hit all of those parts of the griddle. And here with the second seasoning, you notice that we're starting to get a little bit darker color as well. And one thing to remember is to invest in an infrared thermometer. It will teach you a lot about temperature and the hot spots and cool spots of your griddle. And here I'm starting the third seasoning and coming back with another light layer of grapeseed oil. And then coming back with a paper towel and tongs and spreading that around evenly and hitting the sides and the back of the griddle as well. And we see the burn off here. We're getting quite a bit of smoke, but just let that continue until the smoke dissipates. And then we're starting the fourth seasoning. And you can see on the griddle now we've got some good color. And if you notice around the first 3 or 4 inches toward the front of the griddle, it's not as dark as the rest of the griddle because the burner doesn't extend all the way out there. So you're going to season that as you cook over time, and that portion of the griddle will get darker. But again, we continue with the paper towels and tongs and going ahead and making sure we spread that out evenly. And here we have the fourth seasoning burn off. And we're coming back with the fifth layer of oil here, and you see we're getting some really great color now. And each of these steps takes about 15 minutes for that burn off. And again, we repeat the process again with the tongs and the paper towel, making sure to hit all sides. And again, letting that burn off completely before we get to the next seasoning. And we've got some really good color here. And I went on ahead and put another layer of oil on here for a sixth seasoning. And I'm going to take my paper towel and tongs and spread this out and make sure I get an even layer and hit the sides and back. And we're going to have that sixth seasoning burn off. And here the griddle has a very nice color to it. All the smoke is dissipated, and I'm very happy with the color I'm seeing. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the griddle and the propane. And I let the griddle cool down, and we were at about 500 degrees before. We're about 270 now. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to take a light layer of oil and the tongs and the paper towel, and we're going to spread this out evenly, and we're going to cover the sides and the back and especially the corners and make sure we hit any exposed parts of this griddle top. And I'm happy with the dark even color of this griddle top, so this seasoning is complete. Alright guys, this seasoning is done. Let's have a quick recap. We washed down the griddle top with soap and water and came back and rinsed it with clean water, and then we turned the burners on medium-high to evaporate the water that was on there. And then after we started seeing a little bit of brown and black coloration on the top, we started layering on thin layers of grapeseed oil, and you can use any type of oil that you like for your seasoning. I like to go heavy with my seasoning, so I went with 6 coats. I like a good, nice, dark seasoning. I season my pans the same way. But do what works for you, and you'll be able to tell because that surface will start to get smoother and smoother, and you'll know that you got a good seasoning on there. And that's it. This thing is actually ready for a cook, and I'm planning a couple of cooks that are going to be coming up here soon. So thanks for watching, and leave a comment and let me know what you thought. Alright guys, thanks for watching this episode of Outdoors with Geoff. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon for notifications when more content comes out. And also check out these videos here on the channel as well.